Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ariana Jaffe, and I am the Director of Research and Policy Development for the Special Education Office here in New York City Public Schools. Tonight, I will be joined by several of my colleagues. Joining me during the presentation will be Angela Falloy, the Director of Summer Programming and Special Projects for the Department of Education, New York City Public Schools. And then colleagues from my office, Special Education Office, Suzanne Sanchez, Senior Director for Related Services, and Michelle Netzler, Senior Director for Specialized Programs, including ASD Nest and Horizon. So I thank them all for their participation and answering questions in the Q&A and supporting as they can. So I very much appreciate it. And a full disclaimer to the world: there is a 5-year-old who just lost a tooth or can't get it out of their mouth and is screaming like a banshee behind me. And so I apologize if I seem distracted at some points. So tonight we are going to be discussing summer opportunities for students with disabilities. That includes, we're mainly discussing students with IEPs, but we do touch on students with 504 plans. And we are mainly focusing on students in kindergarten through 8th grade and the programming that is being offered through the Department of Education this summer. If you are interested in, or the parent of a student in high school and are interested in high school opportunities or summer youth employment, please drop your email in the chat, and I will, or your question, put a question in the Q&A, and I will take it back to that team and we will get back to you. I apologize that we did not have a chance to include that information in this presentation. So this presentation, just to set expectations, is mainly going to be around students with disabilities aged in grades kindergarten through 8. So first we'll go into programming that is available for students with 12-month IEPs, 12-month IEP recommendations. Extended school year programs that are recommended on a student's individualized education program, IEP, for 12-month programs and services. The D1 through 32 program is usually called ESY, Extended School Year. District 75 Extended School Year is typically called Chapter 683 for some reason that I still don't understand. But regardless, students with 12-month IEPs may be attending or recommended for one of several different programs, either their extended ESY program in a D1 through 32 program, a District 75 program, a related services within a specialized program such as ASD Nest Horizon, who have their own specialized summer programs that we'll go into, or students may have 12-month recommendations for related services only. There are, and also new to this summer, for students who have related services recommended during the summer, there will be seed sites, 7 seed sites available around the city. And if you have some questions, please place them in the Q&A related to that. Suzanne is here and available to respond to inquiries. So now we'll go into a little bit more of the specific programs. District 75 is, in general, an IEP recommendation and a special class recommendation for students who require a more restrictive environment than those that are offered in community schools, otherwise known as D1 through 32 schools. This may include students who have autism spectrum disorder, cognitive delays, emotional challenges, sensory impairments, and or multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairments, etc. District 75 provides educational, vocational, and social and emotional behavioral support around, as a holistic model for the student. So more specifically, District 75 summer programming, because of the needs of the student population, many students in District 75 are recommended for school for 12 months. Their summer programming, as I mentioned before, is often referred to as Chapter 683. It is located, this programming is similar to what is offered during the year, but your child may or may go to a different location, but there are sites all around the city, and the day begins at 8 and ends at 2:30, 8 or 8:10, and ends at 2:30 or 2:40. Other extended school year programs, District 1 through 34 is what I was mentioning before, known as ESY. This program is for students whose IEP teams and families believe that they are at greater risk of learning loss and regression if they are not involved in educational programming during the summer. So it provides supports to help students retain what they learned the last year and to prepare for the coming school year. Students receive instruction in literacy, math, social studies, science, in small class environments and with all the supports that they get during the school year, including related services. This year, we are expecting to serve between 2,000 and 2,500 students across D1 through 32 at 18 sites in grades K to 8. This is up by about 1,000 from last year. So the program has grown exponentially while it had gotten smaller, obviously, as a result of the pandemic, but now it is really blooming. So we are expecting a large population this summer, which is great that the students will be able to take advantage of it. There is also ASD summer programming for students who are enrolled in ASD Nest and Horizon programs during the 10-month school year. Those are DOE specialized programs to for students with autism diagnoses. And for the summer programming, all elementary and middle school students attending an ASD Nest or ASD Horizon program are invited to participate in the ASD summer program. The program structure is 4 weeks, 4 days per week, and 4 hours per day. The ASD summer program provides students a structured and supportive environment to practice social communication and pragmatic skills. Students will continue to make social communication and pragmatic gains over the summer to reduce regression, and it prepares the students to transition back into the classroom and engage fully in academics in the fall. The focus on the summer program is to build skills, social communication and interaction, to increase the ability to work in small groups and independently, to understand social concepts, to build flexibility and self-awareness, self-efficacy, and advocacy to identify their own needs. They'll practice following directions and utilizing executive functioning skills, increasing their ability to access the curriculum. The ASD summer program is staffed by ASD trained teachers and related service providers. Finally, so supports for students with 10-month IEPs. Students with IEPs who are not in an ASD program, District 75 or ESC program, may be enrolled in Summer Rising, which is something that has been new to the DOE in the last 3 years. This DOE summer program, known as Summer Rising, is no longer limited to students who are mandated for summer school because of risk of promotion. And it is, anyone can be eligible for Summer Rising, and we'll go into that more detail. Specific to students with disabilities, if a student with a 10-month IEP is participating in Summer Rising, during the academic portion of the day, the scheduling we'll go into in a little bit more, there is an opportunity for small group literacy intervention, and as well as educational supports and adaptations and modifications for the summarizing classroom to maximize these students' ability to participate fully in summarizing. And we will also go into more about optimizing students' access and participation. Right now, we're going into sort of the basics of summarizing, and I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Angela Falloy. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Ariana. I've been enjoying the presentation. Again, my name is Angela Falloy. I am the Director of Summer Programming and Special Projects. And Ariana, are you able to please move the slides for me? All right, thank you. So I will be discussing what summarizing is. I'm sure many of you know, but I will provide an overview. So I'm excited to say that summarizing is a partnership between the DOE and the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. And when I say partnership, I really mean it. We meet at least twice a week to ensure that every aspect of the program, you know, where we all have the same consensus, we're on the same page, and it really is in the best interest of families and students. So it really is a true partnership. And then, you know, every project has a scope and size. The scope and size for this project for summarizing is approximately 110,000 New York City students in grades K through 8. So what that means is that we have approximately 110,000 seats for students residing and going to school in New York City. The grades are grades K through 8. And to further clarify, it means that your child should be currently in grades K through 8 when you apply for a seat, not pre-K, not ninth grade. For summarizing, it should be grades K through 8. Next point, please. The best part, summarizing is free to all families. And the goal, and we're really working very hard, is to ensure that we provide high quality and engaging academics in the morning. We're reviewing several pilot programs now to ensure that we provide innovative programs led by DOE, teachers, and staff in the morning. And then the enrichment portion, which is in the afternoon, is led by DYCD. They also are working hard to bring amazing enrichment in arts, in sports, in STEM, and other areas as well. Next slide, please. So now with every program, we're working hard to make sure that we're improving processes. And this year, I'm glad to report that we listened to the stakeholders, to families, and we improved the enrollment process. Last year, it was first come, first serve. And of course, we heard that it was challenging, you know, especially for families who were unable to apply early on due to work and other situations. And by the time they came to apply, the seats were gone. So we heard, we listened, and we provided the next improvement. Next point, please. So this year, we worked hard to brainstorm to ensure that we have equitable means and equitable ways of distributing and really rolling out the enrollment process. And so what we came up with was that we said, you know what, no more first come, first serve. And what we're going to do is have an enrollment period whereby time doesn't matter. Meaning if you apply on April 17th, which is when the portal opens, or you apply on May 1st, which is when the portal will, you know, the last day of the portal, the timing doesn't matter. What matters is, you know, how we prioritize students. And so we wanted it to be accessible and equitable, whereby families are not rushing, you know, to apply because they feel it's a first come, first serve. Instead, we have, again, an enrollment period of April 17th to May 1st. Timing doesn't matter. However, afterwards, after the enrollment period, we will match the applicants based on priority and based on preference. Within this application period, families can withdraw or update their whatever they've submitted for the application. In terms of priority, we are prioritizing, in addition to other areas, 12-month IEPs. So I wanted to make that clear that as part of our prioritization process, we are looking at and we are prioritizing 12-month IEP students who choose to apply for the full day of summarizing through the portal. Now I hand it over to Ariana.
Hi, before I go on, and I'm sorry I got distracted for a minute when I was on forwarding the slide job for Angela, that I saw a comment in the chat from like 2 minutes ago that someone was still not able to access the Spanish. Has that been resolved?
Yeah, we have people on the Spanish line.
Yeah, the Spanish
Okay.
line is open. We're talking.
Todo bien? Okay. All right. So thank you so much for Angela for the primer on summarizing. So part of this presentation is to go into a little bit more detail about what the enrollment process looks like for students in the programs that I was discussing earlier, ESY, ASD, and District 75 programs. So students who are, if your child is enrolled in, ASD, summer programming, or ESY, D1 through 32 ESY, you can choose to enroll in the what we call CBO enrichment until 6 p.m. Which would be, so your program would end, your child's program ends at around 2:30, and then they will transition to the CBO whose programming is already in progress, and participate until 6 p.m. When you look into the enrollment portal, you can choose any of the CBO programs that are operating at your child's the site where they are receiving ESY program services. If there is only one CBO at that site, that will be the only site you would rank, and you will receive priority for placement. This is really to ensure that students do not need to be, kids don't need to be bouncing around the city. We are trying to create as much continuity as possible, both in terms of not having kids have to move from one place to another if they don't have to, that for example, if they have one-to-one support in the during the academic day, and they still need that for the afternoon session, that person will be able to stay with them. Hopefully, we'll go into that a little bit more later. But that there is, as little disruption as possible. So this was how we had envisioned this, so that families so there would be a shortcut for families who have children in ASD and ESY programs. They wouldn't have to be hunting through all these programs to see the ones that are at their child's school. It would be already there for you to choose from. Slightly different for students in District 75. District 75 schools often operate at more than one location building site over the summer. For those students, you will see all of the locations where your child's homeschool is operating and where there is also an enrichment programming. So you may choose between a program that's in your own building, in your the building that they're attending their daytime academic programming, District 75 programming, and a CBO that is at another site that is also a building where your child's homeschool is operating. The reason for that is that even if you are moving from one building to another, there is continuity in that the principal is the same, and the administration is the same, and the communication channels are very similar to as if you were your child was staying in the same building. So for those those students, they can they'll be able to stay for their same site for both their morning IEP programming and afternoon enrichment. But as I mentioned, in cases where an alternate 2:30 p.m. drop off is needed, that student's homeschool will already be familiar with the CBO program. We have had a number of inquiries since the application portal opened, in part of our excitement to facilitate and make it easier for families to find sites that are associated with where their child's recommended program is. It ended up being that we weren't able to you weren't able to opt out. And so for families who and we also very much encourage you to have your child enroll in their IEP recommended program. If, however, you want to opt out of your student's IEP recommended programming and apply to full day summarizing, which be 8 to 6, with no IEP programming, just the regular, 8 to 12 DOE programming, which may have the special education supports built in that I discussed earlier that is available for students with 10-month IEPs, and then the 12 to 6 CBO portion. If you have, if you have 2 children or siblings and you want them to attend the same place, or whatever considerations you have, that you want to opt out of your child's ESY or ASD program, please notify your school, the program office, the ASD programs, general mailbox, the ESY programs general mailbox, or the summarizing mailbox, or the special education inbox, any of the above, to let us know, and you will be given instructions about how to apply outside the portal. And then, but your application will then be considered as if you had put it into the portal. We apologize that this was a glitch in the system, and we are hoping that we'll be able to resolve it for next year. But in the meantime, we have been able to develop a workaround to be able to, respond to parent requests and meet parent requests. And so we hope that this will, lead to everyone getting the program that they wanted. I should mention, however, though, if you are declining your child's IEP recommended programming, you may lose the priority that your child had as a 12-month recommended student for summarizing. So that is, that it may be something for you to consider. So I had mentioned very briefly before a student who has a para during the school day who may need one, and that, if they need one during the after school enrichment, what would that look like? That we would try to ensure that it's the same person to have continuity. Well, how would that look like? How does a student get a para for CBO enrichment? Because summarizing, and especially the CBO part of summarizing, the afternoon enrichment, it is not part of your child's IEP programming, and therefore the IEP is not does not govern the program itself. It doesn't govern the staff to student ratio that your child is in, or necessarily what supports they have. However, the DOE is obligated to provide your child access to these programs to be able to participate in them fully. So to that end, we have developed what we call a summarizing accommodations process. So for example, here are a few examples. A student who has a health paraprofessional, a one-to-one health paraprofessional or nurse during the school year due to an IEP or 504 plan. Those students will receive that service throughout the summarizing day, 8 to 6, because otherwise they would not be able to participate. Oh, and as part of that, I will mention that all summarizing sites do have a staff nurse on site all day, 8 to 6, every day throughout the summer. But those students that I just mentioned will have that same level of health support throughout summarizing, whether they are in their academic programming or their enrichment programming. Students who have a behavioral paraprofessional or a paraprofessional for socio-emotional reasons, they will have the same support they have during the academic portion of the day, the support that's recommended on their IEP, and they will receive the support that they need during enrichment activities. And how are we determining what support they need? Well, that is being done by that decision making is being done by the students, the people that know the students best, the teachers that are working with the students now. A student's homeschool typically the student's special education teacher, possibly in coordination with other members of the student's IEP team, will prepare what's known as a summarizing accommodation plan. And that will be shared with you and your child's summarizing site before summarizing begins. A few things to keep in mind is that these enrichment activities do not require the same level of attention, or many of them do not require the same level of, for example, concentration or attention as some certain academic activities. So students who have paraprofessionals, for example, to redirect and keep on task for academic tasks, a student with those particular needs of a paraprofessional may not need that level of support for enrichment activities. If they're doing something they enjoy, if they're playing sports or engaging in other forms of social activities, they may not need that level of support. They might be able to participate fully with the staff that's already available at the site. And so those are things that are taken into consideration when drafting a summarizing accommodation plan. Conversely, if a student has a tendency to elope, needs to have one-to-one supervision at all times for their own safety, that is a student who would have that level of support both during the school day and during the afternoon enrichment. So in May, after students are matched to summarizing sites and you receive your registration, enrollment information, your child's school will already be working on drafting what we call a summarizing accommodation plan. Up here, the screenshot I have is of last year's accommodation plan. We are still finalizing this year's. It will look very, very similar to this. It's more, we're making some changes on the back end in terms of how we pull the information that's in the form into a database, so that which allows us to track the content of the plans in a way that we weren't able to last year. But this is essentially what the summarizing accommodation plan will look like. So as I mentioned, the accommodation plan will be created by a student's teacher at their home school. The accommodation plan will then be shared with the parent, with you, and you can provide feedback. If you disagree, you can discuss that with your child's school and discuss, what you think is best for your child's needs. It will also be provided to the principal in charge of your child's summarizing program. That will allow the principal in charge to do the hiring for any accommodation plan that indicates that a student requires paraprofessional support or one-to-one nursing support. That will alert the principal in charge that they need to hire that person. It will also alert them that, and it will also direct them to work to secure a paraprofessional that can work with the student for the full time, from 8 to 6 if possible, and if possible to hire the paraprofessional that works with the student during the 10-month school year. The principal in charge will share the plan with the CBO staff, but only on a need to know basis to maintain student privacy. So it will only to allow the student their safe and full participation in the program. If there is if a need arises once the summarizing has already begun and it appears that the student does not have enough support, at that point we will have an escalation protocol for CBOs and principals in charge to use, where we will be able to, if necessary, create an accommodation plan centrally and implement it immediately. But we're hoping that, you know, us rolling out this program earlier and with the knowledge gained from last year and so on, that this will be, this process will move much more smoothly, and we will have a much better understanding of all the students' needs prior to the beginning of summarizing. The accommodations may not only be in the form of a person, you know, such as a paraprofessional or a nurse. It could also indicate whether a student needs to have frequent snacks, you know, if they need to check if they have a diabetes plan, what they do to self-manage, any information that the CBO needs to know about a student's medical condition, or that the principal in charge needs to be aware of, will be on the accommodation plan. It is not only about paras and nurses. And I'll also take this opportunity to say that we're also working very closely with DYCD and the community-based organizations to do training and professional development for their directors and their staff, and the staff that will be working at these summarizing sites on working with students with disabilities. And we anticipate and we hope and we expect that those staff will be prepared to interact and provide guidance and be ready to address the needs of students who are in their programs, whether they have disabilities or not. As far as transportation goes, it will work similarly to last year. School bus service will be available to students who have IEPs that recommend busing, students in ESY programs, students in K-6 who are in DHS shelters, and other students in temporary housing or foster care that have an exception to busing. And stop to school busing and MetroCards are available as well. There may also be shuttle service for students who are mandated for summer school, going from their home school to the summer site. So here are some key dates. We are currently in the enrollment period for summarizing, as well as survey, the ESY and ASD registration survey letters have gone out. For summarizing, families must enroll between April 17th and May 1st. If you are a family who is opting out of your recommended program, please notify us by the end of the day on April 27th. That's this Thursday, if you are opting out, so that we can ensure that your preferences are loaded into the portal when it closes on May 1st. You'll receive the notification of your placement approximately 1 week after the application closes. The program dates for kindergarten to 5th grade for summarizing is July 5th to 18th. For 6th to 8th is July 5th through August 11th. As I mentioned before, DOE-led programming is from 8 to 12, and extended day enrichment is from 12 to 6. For students with 12-month IEP programs, it gets a little into the weeds here. So District 75 is July 6th through August 15th. ESY is July 5th through August 14th, and ASD programs are July 5th through August 1st. Both District 75 and ESY run a schedule of approximately 8 to 2:30, 2:40. ASD is from 8 to noon. And then for students staying for summarizing, they may choose to leave at 2:30 or when the last bus leaves, or stay until 6. One thing that I didn't include on the previous slide, and I apologize, is that busing is only available as late as 3 o'clock. If a student has an IEP that recommends transportation and they wish to stay until 6 p.m., there will be rideshare service available, as there was last year, which means that the student, the school will work with the family to and provide the family. These were our prepaid car service. So 12 months. So as I mentioned, students with 12-month IEPs will have the choice to participate in extended day enrichment hours. And they will also be able to participate for the last week, which has no DOE programming. They can be in the full day CBO programming from August 14th through 18th, or August 16th through 18th for District 75. Here are a couple resources for your questions. My first recommendation is to speak with your parent coordinator. They are an awesome resource, and they can be incredibly helpful. Alternatively, there are a number of email addresses that you can contact. The summarizing inbox is summer@schools.nyc.gov. ESY and District 75, you can email the DOE's special education inbox, specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. ASD is ASD programs at schools.nyc and related services. And there is also a lot of information on our website. So that is it for the general presentation. And I'm sure that there are a lot of questions. Andre, are there any common questions that frequently asked questions that you think I should address?
Yeah, so
on the outset?
great. Thank you for that. So families just looking to confirm, is summarizing the only option for students that have an IEP over the summer? You addressed the transportation question. We saw a few of those come in regarding what are our transportation options, especially if student is staying after 6. So thank you for that. But if you could touch upon the first one, just clarifying for some parents, is summarizing the only program that is provided to DOE students that have an IEP over the summer?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand, because there are so summarizing is just one program that's being offered by the DOE. If your child has a 12-month IEP, there might be, depending on where your child's program recommendation, there may be different options. If your child has a 12-month recommendation in District 75, they would be in the District 75 summer program with the option to stay for the afternoon portion of summarizing. The same for a student who's in a District 1 through 32 community school who has an extended school year recommendation. A student who has a 10-month IEP, they can attend summarizing 8 to 6. That maybe that is where for a student grade in kindergarten through 8th grade who has an IEP, a 10-month IEP, they have the option to attend summarizing. That's the kind of umbrella program that the DOE is operating this year as summer school. So it's not just for students who are being mandated to attend summer school so that they can be promoted to the next year. It's open for any student.
That's perfect. Thank you. No,
Yeah,
I
and
think
and
you
also,
covered-
sorry, a plug,
No?
students who might have 12-month recommendations for related services only. Related services, a student can receive related services. There are a number of related services hub sites that are going to be located around the city, and also 7 sensory education exploration discovery sites for those interested in that program throughout the summer.
Thank you. Can we put the slide back up with the addresses in which they can apply? And then if you can reiterate the deadlines and timelines for parents. And while you're pulling up, we had a few questions regarding will families or students be penalized if they miss days due to doctor's appointments or vacations or trips that they have scheduled over the summer?
That's a good question. I think I know that the expectation is that your student will attend for the whole program. Like, you're committing for your child to attend this six-week program, because there already are more applicants than there are seats. And so if you are planning to take a 3-week vacation in the middle of the summer and you're only going to be going to summarizing for 2 weeks, that's not what it's designed for. So I don't know if Angela is still on the line, if what the policy, the actual attendance policy is. Angela, I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, but if you can speak to what that is.
You said it beautifully. You really did. You will not be penalized, however, the program is designed that you come for majority of the 6-week or 7-week or whatever your program is. That's what it's designed for. So in terms of being penalized, no. However, though, if we see that you have not attended the first week, we will be reaching out to you to understand what your situation is and if you want to forfeit your seat, meaning give your seat to somebody else who is willing to attend. But long story short is that there is no penalty. If we see that there's an extended absence, we will be reaching out to you to understand, what's going on.
Thank you. And as far as doctor's appointments, there's no penalty for having to go to a doctor. Just like during the school year.
Perfect. Thank you for that. If you can just provide the couple of major things that parents should know about SYEP. We saw a couple of questions, folks just wanted some clarification around SYEP. And then I think we can have time for 2 more questions after that one.
Oh no, my SYEP person didn't come. I'm so sorry. I am going to put the information about summer youth employment in the chat. And when I stop sharing my screen, here, let me do that now. Which will hopefully at least provide some information. I'm sorry that she couldn't attend. But it's a wonderful program. And also, actually, there are kids who are doing the summer youth employment program, which is also a collaboration between the DOE and DYCD, and there are kids who are in summer youth employment working in the CBOs that are doing summarizing. So it's a wonderful opportunity all around. I'm putting.
And hey, Ariana, this is Suzanne. Also suggest that any families of high school students with summer youth questions, reach out to Jonathan Santiago as well. And I put his contact information in the Q&A. It's J Santiago 27, but if you want to reiterate that.
Thank you,
Thank you for that,
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Thank you, Ariana. So we can take two more questions. One, just confirming, how does a family sign up for extended day over the summer? So if you can reiterate, how do they sign up for extended day? And then I can give the final question after that.
Okay, so the way a family can sign up for extended day is, I will start sharing my screen again. I'll put this, so I'll put the link in the chat, which is this is the, when you try to, this is how you apply for summarizing. And this is the screen that everyone sees, whether they want to apply for full day summarizing or only for the extended day. If you are applying for the extended day, when you see your students' information, it will show the school that they are going to be attending during the academic day, and then give you the list of options of the CBOs that are available in that building. But you go to the summarizing enrollment portal, and you can go until May 1st.
All right, perfect. And for our last question, actually, I would love to pivot to you, Suzanne. We had a mention or a question saying that there was a mention of sensory programs that are going to be provided over the summer. Could you touch base on some of those programs? I think they're referring to ASD and NEST over the summer.
Yes, absolutely. Our SEED program, which is Sensory Exploration, Education, and Discovery program, will be running at 7 sites across the city this summer. This is a sensory gym program designed to support students who have intensive sensory needs. The program is run by trained occupational and physical therapists. It's typically provided in a small group setting, around 3 to 4 students, with approximately 2 therapists that run the session. It is very important for families to know that this is not an all-day program. The SEED sessions are 45 to 50 minutes. And there is not busing transportation provided. So a family or caregiver would bring the child to the program, wait in a waiting area, and then after the session is finished, sometimes participate in the end of the session, talk to the therapist, and then leave with their child. Because again, this is not a full day. It is a session-based program. So it's a wonderful program, lots of exciting and engaging activities for students who have sensory needs, students with autism, ADHD, or any other reason that they have sensory needs that are impacting them. Lots of fun and great activities during the sessions. And if someone is interested, can absolutely email us at SEED program ORS at schools. So that's SEED program ORS at schools.nyc.gov for more information. There's also that same mailbox. You can find that on the DOE website simply by searching SEED at NYC DOE. Thank you so much, Andre.
No, thank you. And you left us with time that we could take 2 more brief questions, because I think we can fit this in. Will meals be provided for the program over the summer, or should parents anticipate sending meals? So that's the one, and then I'll give you the last question that we'll have after that.
Sure. Breakfast, lunch, and snacks will be available.
Sweet and easy. I love it.
Yeah,
And
that was an easy one.
last but certainly not least, we'll end strong. How do you know when you'll get the status if your child's been accepted? So when should they check back for status as the application went well, if they've been accepted, etc.? What's the timeline they should be looking to know that they're in the program?
Angela, do you want to take that one? I'm not sure whether I have the latest information on when
Yes.
the matching will be made.
Oh, sure, no problem. It's going to be around the week of May 8th. So approximately a week after the portal closes. So around the week of May 8th.
All right, that's perfect. And we're right on time. So we'll leave the chat section open for a few more moments just so that we can drop in some of those links to the email addresses that were talked about. Our general inbox, special education at schools.nyc.gov, the seed inbox, and any additional supports and resources will provide that to you. This session has been recorded, so anyone who registered and attended or anyone who registered and did not attend will get access to this recording. You can also see previous recordings of our Beyond Access series at our YouTube channel. We'll also make sure that you get that in our follow-up email, which you'll receive 24 hours after the conclusion of this evening's session. We hope this content was impactful and insightful, and don't hesitate to send us any follow-up questions or concerns that come up or come to mind after the session has concluded. Our general inbox is open for folks to email. We do ask for you to allow us 24 to 36 hour turnaround time to respond to any email communications that come into our general inbox, and be cognizant of holidays and weekends. So if you email at 5 o'clock on a Friday, don't expect the response for the Saturday or Sunday. You'll subsequently get that sometime the Monday or Tuesday, just set expectations. We will have another Beyond Access series session next week. It'll be transitions, and we'll make sure to send that invite for you, but you can always register and see upcoming sessions on our schools.nyc.gov website. Again, it's always a pleasure to be with you every Tuesday evening for our Beyond Access series. We thank all our panelists and presenters. We thank our interpreters who have been helpful in the background. And we can't do these sessions without you, our families who join us every evening. We had over 175 families, give or take, coming in and out of the session this evening with us. So we hope this content was impactful, and we'll give you the rest of your evening back. We thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at a future Beyond Access series session. And that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.